Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about multiplying radical expressions and squaring radical expressions. So we've simplified so far, but today we're really going to go into how we can use them in operations. So multiplying is actually pretty easy. All we're going to do is multiply the radicands, which remember are going to be the inside terms. The terms that are in the jail cells. So that's going to be our B and our D. So we got B times D inside the jail cell. Then we're going to multiply the coefficients, which are our outside terms. So in this case, we got A and C. So we got A and C on the outside. And I know that can look a bit intimidating, but don't be freaked out too much. It's just a lot of letters, which is why you're probably a little intimidated. Go ahead and open it up and we'll talk about multiplying a little bit more, go through some examples. All right, so once again, the rule, we're going to multiply the radicands, the inside terms, and multiply the coefficients, the outside terms. So first, if we're going to multiply the radicands, those are inside terms, we got 3 and 5. So we'll write it as the square root of 3 times 5. Then we're going to multiply the coefficients, the outside terms, 2 and 4. So we got 2 and 4 on the outside. And all that's left is to simplify. 2 times 4 is going to give us 8. 3 times 5 will give us 15. So not too tricky, just really making sure you're grouping those with the appropriate pairs. Next, we'll multiply the inside terms. We got a 7 and a 3, so we got a square root. Inside we got 7 times 3. And outside we got 2 and 7. 2 times 7. All right, so now all we have to do is simplify. 7 times 3 gives me the square root of 21. 2 times 7 gives me 14. And as always, we're going to check those radicands. That 21, make sure we can't break that into any square roots. We can't take a 1 out, a 4 out, a 16er out, and 25 is too high. So we're all good. We don't have to simplify quite yet. All right, the last one we might have to simplify on. So we multiply our inside terms. 3 times 3. So we got the square root of 3 times 3. Then we multiply the outside terms, 2 and 5. All right, simplify. We'll get a 10 on the outside and a 9 on the inside. Well, right there, we know that the square root of 9 is 3, so we can take that out, and it will become 10 times 3. Easy to simplify that. We will get 30. So that's actually pretty interesting. Whenever we multiply something square rooted times itself, it just cancels out. So the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, just going to leave us with 3. All right, I'm going to leave that last one, example 4, for you to do on your own. We'll give you a little bit to do that. All right, guys, and as we go into this one, there's actually a couple ways to do this. So the first way is what we've been doing. We got 9 and 2. We multiply those together, 9 times 2. We do our outsides, 3 times 6. Simplify, 3 times 6 gives us an 18, and inside we have the square root of 18. Now remember, we're always looking to simplify. That 18 can be split up into 9 times 2, obviously we know that. And we can take out the square root of 9, so we get 3 times 18 on the outside times the square root of 2. Now we know 3 times 18, what is that going to be? 36 plus 18, 54, root 2. Now the other way you could do it is recognize right away that the square root of 9 can be reduced. So you can actually rewrite it as, instead of the square root of 9, 3 times square root of 9 is 3 times 6 root 2. Then you multiply all those out, you will get 54 root 2. Either way is totally fine. If you didn't recognize that we can reduce that 9, that's fine. If you did, all the merrier. All right, guys, you're gonna go ahead and fold that back, and we're gonna talk about squaring radicals. So we talked about this briefly when we did Pythagorean theorem, but this is gonna be a little more extended version when we have coefficients. So if we have something squared, all we're gonna do is distribute that squared. So I have e squared, and I have the square root of f squared. When you simplify, it becomes e squared, and the square root cancels itself out. So 2 rules: distribute the power, then simplify. Nothing too crazy. So go ahead and open that up. We will get started on example 1. Okay, so we have the square root of 2 squared. And whenever we have something squared, that just means multiply by itself. So if we have square root of 2 times the square root of 2, all we're going to do is multiply our inside terms and our outside terms, which we don't have in this case. And we will get 2 times 2 in the middle, or the square root of 4. We know the square root of 4 is 2, and that is also the same thing as if you recognized that those cancel out. So that's pretty neat. Whenever you square a square root, it will cancel. So if we're squaring something with a coefficient, you have to distribute your powers. So for number 2, we're going to have 6 squared, and we'll have the square root of 3 squared. So that means 6 times 6. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, that means 6 times 6, and the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Well, 6 times 6 is going to give us a 36. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 give us the square root of 9, or just 3. Our answer will be 36 times 3. Unless you're really good at mental math, you might have to long multiply like me. We will get 108. All right, I'm gonna let you try the last 2 on your own for a second, and then we will go over it together. So go ahead, distribute that power to the 6, to the square root of 45. Work that out. All right, so you distribute that power to the 6, you'll get 6 squared, and you'll get the root of 45 squared. So 6 squared becomes 36, 45 squared, square root of 45 squared just becomes a 45. All right, you can multiply that in your calculator, and you will get 1620. Perfect. And the last one I'm going to let you do on your own. Again, distribute that 2, or the squared, to both, and go ahead and work that through. Seven squared will give you 49. Square root of 5 squared will give you 5. Multiply those together, should get 245. All right, guys. Up next, the sub is going to take over. We are going to get in pairs and go ahead and do a jailbreak puzzle. We'll see you tomorrow. Be nice to the sub.